A BB for Hody and straight black pride, brothers and sisters. This is your brother DC Radical One with another radical report. And today we're going to talk about the NFL, the National Football League, hopping aboard the Rainbow Parade. And so we're going to cover a couple of different stories and put them together and then comment on them. And the first story actually occurred a few weeks ago, and it did not garner a lot of attention, at least, um, at least from what I saw. And so the first story says that Carl Nassib of Las Vegas Raiders announces he is gay, pledges $100,000 to the Trevor Project. And it says Nassib 28 made the announcement in an Instagram post. Said, "What up, people?" Nassib posted, "I'm at my house here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I just want to take a quick moment to say that I'm gay. I've been meaning to do this for a while now, but I finally feel comfortable enough to get it off my chest. I really have the best life. I've got the best family, friends, and job a guy could ask for. I'm a pretty private person, so I hope you guys know that I'm really not doing this for attention. I just think that representation and visibility are so important. I actually hope that like one day videos like this and the whole coming out process are just not necessary. But until then, I'm going to do my best and do my part to cultivate a culture that's accepting, that's compassionate, and I'm going to start by donating, $100,000 to the Trevor Project. The Trevor Project provides crisis intervention and suicide prevention services to the LGBTQ community. It commended Nassib's announcement, saying in a statement that his donation will help scale our life saving crisis service to reach the more than 1.8 million LGBTQ youth who are seriously considering suicide each year in the United States. We're going to stop right there. Now, first of all, I found it interesting that Mr. Nassib, who is an average player on an average defense, decided to come out during Pride Month. I mean, I guess that's the appropriate time for him to come out. Why not? But the thing about it is that he's one of the things he says is I'm a private person, and I hope, and I'm not doing this for attention. But undoubtedly, by making this announcement during Pride Month, you're going to garner plenty of attention. That goes without saying. Surely he could have simply sent this anonymous donation of $100,000 to this organization if that was his sole reason for doing so. But then he says that representation is important. I find this interesting as well because literally you cannot turn on anything anywhere without homosexuality being presented. You can't turn on your computer, you certainly can't turn on your TV, you can't browse your streaming service, you can't catch public transportation in many cities without seeing it. And of course, depending on where you live in your city, you're going to see openly homosexual people walking down the street. All of that is representation. So, in my opinion, Mr. Nassib's um, announcement is superfluous. We're literally inundated with homophilia every day here in America. But be that as it may, another part of this I find interesting that they say that there are 1.8 million LGBTQ youth in America. It seems like a high number. Maybe it's correct, maybe it's not. I have not done the research. But it talks about a crisis of suicide amongst these people. And what I find interesting is that no one wants to do research on the connection between the suicide and the identifying with this movement. Now, many people will say that it's because society pressures people and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But that's a lie. Here's the reality of the situation. If a person does not announce that they're homosexual and they're walking down the street, I have no way of identifying that they're homosexual. In reality, most homosexuals throw their identity in the face of people who are simply minding their business. No one asks a grown man to put on women's clothes. No one asks a man to be switching. No one asks a woman to cut all her hair off. All of these things are not necessary for a person to, quote unquote, love who they want to love. In fact, they are on the attack against straight culture, but yet want to claim that they are the ones being attacked. If this was 50 years ago, that may be true, but we're in 2021. Times have indeed changed. Whether for the better or not is up for discussion. So I find this disingenuous, but Mr. Nassib can do what he wants to do. And in reality, I also find another thing interesting is that this is the second defensive end to make this announcement in the National Football League. Of course, the first one was Michael Sam, I believe his name was, who was a black player who was in a relationship with a European male. And it seemed like that got a lot more fanfare and a lot more notice at the time, even though Mr. Sam was not a very good player and eventually washed out of the league. So it seems like they're trying it again. And what's interesting to me is that without a doubt, I'm sure that there are plenty more players of higher profile, indeed, who are engaging in this lifestyle. And I guess it's just a matter of time before those people come out. Now, the second story that I found interesting was that the NFL seemed to respond to Mr. Nassib's announcement. And they responded with a commercial. And when people told me about this, I was like, are you sure? And they were like, yeah, you know. In fact, they told me if you watch NFL Network, it'll occasionally come up. And I did, and it did. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to actually watch this very short 30-second commercial, which I'm going to assume was done in conjunction or acknowledgement, at least, of Mr. Nassib's announcement. And then we're going to talk about what this means going forward for the NFL and for those who are fans of the NFL. Now, that commercial said that the NFL says football is gay, a new commercial that makes clear its support of the LGBTQ community. And the commercial was very quick, and it says things like football is gay, and football is queer and transgender and all those things. And they go by so quick, it's almost like a subliminal message because it's only a 30-second commercial. There's only music behind it, and the words fly by. And what's interesting is if you happen to be watching the NFL Network, you won't really, like I said, it will work like a subliminal effect and it just go straight to you. Now, the reason I found this commercial interesting is because for years, the NFL, well, football in general, because what's interesting is the commercial says football is gay. It doesn't say the NFL is gay. It says football is gay. And for years, I would say from probably the early 60s until now, as football has gained more and more popularity in the age of television, football has represented a bastion of manliness, a place where young men can learn lessons of manhood, where young men can learn lessons of camaraderie, where young men can learn to overcome obstacles. It was a represented. It represented the sport represented toughness, represented endurance, physicality. Uh, it represented many principles that are connected with manhood. But now in 2021, football is gay. So all those lessons that your sons would have learned from playing football, all the camaraderie, all the overcoming obstacles, all the ideals of manhood are now gay, according to the National Football League. And for those who say that there is no agenda to attack masculinity and manhood in America, can you please explain how this is not an attack on manhood in America? So I'm gonna read it because they have the words here. It says, the commercial says, football is gay, football is lesbian, football is beautiful, football is queer, football is life, football is exciting, football is culture, football is transgender, football is queer, football is heart, football is power, football is tough, football is bisexual, football is strong, football is freedom, football is American, football is accepting, football is everything, football is for everyone. So by putting out that message and equating football with all those things, it is then equating all of those things, right? Because if football is all those things, then it's equating all of those things to each other. So if football is culture and football is queer, then queer is culture and bisexuality is culture. And if football is tough, then being bisexual is tough. And if football is freedom, then freedom is bisexuality and queerness and culture. Do we see the not so hidden messages here? So now, as we get ever closer to NFL training camps opening, I think that happens in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And as the summer comes to an end, and as football season creeps closer, and college football starts up, and high school football returns, subliminally in the back of many people's minds, what was once the representation of toughness, physicality, manhood, overcoming obstacles, coming together in brotherhood, teamwork, discipline, physical training, all of these ideals that represent football, all these ideas that you learn playing football, all these life lessons that you gain from football. All of these things now, according to the NFL, are equated with and represent homosexuality. So it'll be very interesting for me to see whether or not the NFL plays this commercial during the season when people are actually watching football and where more people will actually notice what's going on. And it'll be interesting to see if the fans of the NFL and the fans of football in general, college, high school, and so on, what their response will be if this commercial is played during the season. As all I can say is, as a long time, literally lifelong NFL fan, I'm not surprised, but I am somewhat disappointed. Because it seems that there is literally no place for masculinity and manhood and straightness left within this society. And that even on a Sunday afternoon, where one wants to just enjoy a sporting event, some of you all will grab a cold beverage, eat some nachos and other assorted foods. It'll be interesting to see if we'll be bombarded with more pro-LGBT propaganda when literally all we want to see is spectacular catches, runs, physical tackles, wonderful athletic plays, brilliant strategies, wonderful tactical adjustments by coaches, and all the things that football used to represent before football became gay. So with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Again, this is your brother, DC Radical 1. With that, I say a BB Foley and straight black pride. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $DC Radical, the number 1. Thank you again.